The morning began quietly, almost too quietly, for Alex. He stepped out of his house holding a cup of coffee, expecting another normal day. The air was cool, the street was empty, and everything seemed calm. But calm mornings sometimes hide big problems, and Alex was about to discover one that would change his whole week. He walked toward his driveway, humming a small tune, when suddenly his heart stopped for a second. His eyes locked onto something that made his coffee nearly fall from his hands. His 1967 Mustang, his most loved car, the car he spent years saving for, the car he polished every Sunday, now had a long, deep scratch stretching from the front fender to the back door. The sunlight hit the scratch, making it even more painful to look at. Alex froze. His mind went blank for a moment. This wasn't a small scratch. It looked almost like someone dragged something sharp along the entire side of the car. He took a slow step forward, hoping maybe his eyes were tricking him, but no, the damage was real. A sick feeling hit his stomach. He leaned closer and noticed tiny pieces of chipped paint on the ground. And then, something strange caught his attention, a small red toy car lying near the front tire. It didn't belong to him. He didn't have kids. He picked it up slowly, turning it in his hand. It looked brand new, like a kid had dropped it just a few minutes ago. For a second, he thought maybe some child had wandered into the driveway and accidentally scratched the car. But the scratch was too perfect, too long, too deliberate. And then his eyes shifted. Across the street, just a few houses away, stood Karen's teenage son, a boy around 14 or 15. He was standing on the sidewalk, watching Alex. Not with guilt. Not with fear. But with a strange, almost satisfied smile on his face. Alex felt a jolt of confusion. Why was the boy smiling? Why did he look so relaxed even though Alex's car was clearly damaged? Alex held up the toy car slightly, as if to ask silently, "Is this yours? Did you do this?" The teenager's smile slowly began to fade. His eyes widened a little. And then, without a single word, he turned and ran back inside his house, Karen's house. Now things were even stranger. Alex stood still, holding the toy, staring at the closed door of Karen's home. Karen was known in the neighborhood for being loud, rude, and always ready to argue. If her son was involved, things wouldn't be simple. He walked around the Mustang, studying the scratch carefully. The line was sharp, straight, almost like someone used a metal rod or something similar. Whoever did this didn't just tap the car, they dragged something with force. He crouched down and noticed footprints in the dust on the pavement. Small footprints, the size of a teenager's shoes. His brain connected the dots, the toy car, the footprints, the boy's strange smile. This wasn't an accident. Someone did this on purpose. He felt anger rising, but he forced himself to stay calm. Angry reactions only make situations worse, especially when Karen is involved. He knew he needed to understand what happened before reacting. Alex took out his phone and snapped pictures of everything. The scratch, the toy car, the footprints. Something told him this situation might get messy, and he would need proof. As he walked back toward his house, something even stranger caught his eye. His outdoor security camera, usually pointed toward the driveway, had a little fingerprint smear on the lens. Like someone touched it. Someone who didn't want to be recorded. Now the mystery felt even deeper. Alex replayed the moment in his head, the boy smiling, the hurried run back to Karen's house, the toy car, the footprints, the camera smear. All signs pointed to one thing: Karen's son was connected to this. But why? What did the boy gain from damaging a car? Was it a prank? Was he trying to get attention? Or was he simply trying to cause trouble? Alex felt a small chill run down his neck. He knew teenagers sometimes did reckless things, but the look on the boy's face earlier, that smile, it didn't look innocent. It looked calculated. He took a long breath and forced himself to think clearly. The Mustang wasn't just a car to him. It was the dream he worked for. He had bought it after years of saving. Seeing it damaged like this felt almost personal. He walked back into his house, placed the toy car on the table, and opened the security camera app on his phone. The camera recorded motion during the night. Maybe it caught something before being touched. His heart beat a little faster as he clicked the video. The screen loaded, slowly. Outside, the neighborhood looked peaceful as always. Cars parked. Trees swaying. Nothing strange. Then, around 6 a.m., movement appeared on the video. A figure walked into the frame. Alex leaned closer. It was Karen's son. He looked around, checking if anyone was watching. Then he walked straight toward the Mustang. In his hand, he held something long and shiny. A metal rod. He traced it along the side of the car, smiling to himself like it was a fun game. Alex felt his jaw tighten. Then the boy leaned forward and touched the camera. The screen went blurry for a second, and the recording stopped. Alex sat back slowly. Now he had confirmation. Now everything made sense. But one question remained. Why was the boy smiling earlier, and why did his smile disappear the moment Alex picked up the toy car? No matter what the reason was, one thing was certain: the real problem was just beginning, and Karen was not going to take this calmly. The suspense was building, and Alex knew the next steps would not be easy. Alex stood at his doorway for a few seconds, the video still open on his phone. His hands were slightly shaking, not from fear, but from the mix of anger and disbelief running through him. The truth was clear now. Karen's son had scratched his Mustang on purpose. And the worst part? The boy had enjoyed it. Alex took a deep breath. He didn't want to rush into something angry. He wanted to handle the situation calmly, but firmly. The car meant too much to him to just let it go. And Karen, well, she was not known for being reasonable. Still, he had to try. He grabbed the toy car from the table, slipped his phone into his pocket, and walked across the street toward Karen's house. The morning light was stronger now, and the neighborhood was waking up, but everything still felt oddly quiet, like the world was holding its breath. When he reached Karen's front door, he paused for a moment. He could already imagine her reaction, loud, defensive, and full of excuses. But he knocked anyway. For 5 long seconds, nothing happened. Then the door swung open with a sharp pull. Karen stood there, wearing a robe, hair messy, and face already annoyed, like Alex had interrupted something more important than dealing with her son's behavior. "What do you want this early?" she snapped, folding her arms. Alex stayed calm. "Morning, Karen. I need to talk to you about something important." She sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes. "If this is about noise, my son wasn't even outside." "It's not about noise," Alex replied softly. "It's about my car." At the mention of car, Karen's eyebrows lifted slightly, but her expression stayed cold. "What about it?" she asked. Alex held up the small red toy car. "I found this next to it." Karen squinted at the toy. Her face tightened for half a second, so fast most people wouldn't even notice, but Alex did. She recognized it. But instead of admitting anything, she let out a dry laugh. "That? Kids drop things everywhere," she said dismissively. "It doesn't prove anything." Alex nodded slowly. "Maybe. But your son was standing outside earlier, watching me." Karen leaned against the doorframe. "So?" That doesn't mean he did anything wrong. Maybe he was just curious. Alex looked her directly in the eyes. My car has a long scratch across the side. A deep one. Someone did it with force. Karen clicked her tongue. Well, maybe it was an animal. Or maybe you hit something and didn't notice. Alex blinked. He could feel the disrespect in every word she spoke. Karen, he said carefully, I have reason to believe your son did it. Suddenly her voice turned sharp. Are you accusing my child? My boy would never damage your old rusty car. Old rusty car? Alex almost laughed. The Mustang was perfectly restored, shining like new. But he didn't argue about that. Alex pointed to the driveway behind him. There are footprints near the car that match your son's shoes. Karen smirked. Footprints? Really? What is this, a detective movie? Alex didn't respond to the sarcasm. And, he added gently, your son ran inside when he saw me holding the toy. Karen's eyes flashed in irritation. He ran because you were staring at him like a creep. Alex had heard enough excuses in his life to recognize when someone was lying to protect themselves. But he still wanted to resolve this without creating a scene. Can I talk to him for a moment? He asked. Karen's face hardened instantly. Absolutely not. He's a child. You have no right to talk to him. Before Alex could say anything else, her son appeared behind her. His face was pale, his shoulders stiff. He kept his eyes on the floor, avoiding Alex's gaze completely. Karen noticed him and quickly pushed the door halfway closed, blocking most of Alex's view. Go to your room, she whispered sharply to her son. But the boy didn't move. He looked scared, really scared. And guilt was painted all over his face. Alex spoke softly to him. Hey! I just want to understand what happened. I'm not angry at you. The boy's lips trembled slightly, and he took a tiny step forward, as if he wanted to speak. But before a single word could escape, Karen grabbed his arm and yanked him behind the door. That's enough, she barked. You will not speak to my son. And you will stop accusing him of things he didn't do. Alex nodded politely. Karen, I'm trying to settle this calmly. Can we please talk? Karen's voice exploded. No! You're trying to blame us for your problems. We didn't touch your ugly car. Now leave my property. She tried to slam the door, but Alex placed his foot gently in the way, not forcefully, just enough to keep it from closing. Karen, he said quietly, I have video. Her face changed instantly. Something inside her eyes flickered fear, guilt, maybe anger. But she hid it quickly, covering it with a loud, forced laugh. Video? Please. You probably edited something. Anyone can fake videos now. Alex didn't argue. I'm not here to fight. I'm just asking you to take responsibility. Karen stepped closer, face inches away from his. Listen to me, we're not paying you. Not a single dollar. Now remove your foot and get off my porch. Her voice was low, almost threatening. Alex stepped back. Okay. I tried talking. That's all. Karen slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. Alex exhaled slowly. He had expected anger, but not this level of denial. Now he knew this wouldn't be solved peacefully. And somewhere behind the closed door, Karen's son stood silently, heart beating fast, face pale, knowing the truth would catch up to him sooner or later. The calm morning was gone. The real storm had just started. Alex walked back to his house slowly, but his mind was racing. Karen's reaction kept replaying in his head, her quick flashes of fear, the way she pulled her son behind the door, the way she denied everything even before hearing the full story. He wasn't surprised that she refused to accept the truth. Karen denied everything, even when facts stood right in front of her. But this time, Alex had something she couldn't run from. He had video proof. Yet even with the proof, something felt off. The boy's face, earlier pale, nervous, almost trembling, stuck in Alex's mind. The kid wasn't a bad person, Alex could see that. Something else was happening inside that house. Something that made the boy scared to speak. When Alex entered his home, the silence felt heavy. He placed the toy car on the table again and sat down. The toy looked harmless, innocent, but it carried the whole problem inside it. He replayed the video one more time. Watching the boy walk up to the Mustang, dragging the metal rod with a careless smile. Watching him reach for the camera. Watching Karen's window curtain shift slightly, as if someone inside was watching. He paused the video at that moment, the window. It was Karen. Her face was faint but visible, standing behind the curtain, looking down at her son damaging the Mustang. She didn't step out. She didn't stop him. She didn't even shout. She simply watched. Alex leaned back in his chair. Now this situation was even more complicated. If Karen saw everything and didn't stop it, then she wasn't just covering for her son later, she was part of it. But why would a parent allow that? As he thought about it, Alex suddenly realized something. The boy didn't look happy in the video. The smile wasn't playful, it was forced. It looked like the smile someone makes when they're trying to impress someone, or trying to avoid getting in trouble. Maybe Karen forced him to do it. Maybe she wanted to hurt Alex because she disliked him. Maybe the boy scratched the car only because he was scared of her reaction if he refused. The idea made Alex's stomach tighten. He stood up and walked outside again. He needed to get more evidence, something solid that Karen couldn't deny. He walked around the Mustang, checking each angle. The scratch line was straight and deep, made intentionally with pressure. The paint chips were scattered in a neat path, matching the boy's movement in the video. Alex took more photos. Close-ups of the scratch. The footprints again. The paint chips. The dragged line on the ground. Everything. But when he zoomed in on the footprints, something new stood out. One print was slightly different. It was deeper, like someone heavier had stepped in the same place. Was it Karen? Did she come outside after the boy? Did she inspect his work? Alex swallowed hard. The thought made the situation heavier. As he stood there, a movement across the street caught his attention. Karen's front curtain moved gently. He couldn't see her, but he felt her watching him. It didn't bother him, but it confirmed his suspicion. Karen knew what happened, and she was nervous now. He walked back toward his front door when suddenly he heard a small sound. A door opening. He turned. It wasn't Karen. It was her son. The boy stepped outside, alone, looking around nervously. His hands were shaking slightly, and he kept glancing back at the house as if afraid someone might see him. "Hey," Alex said softly so he wouldn't scare him. "You okay?" The boy swallowed and nodded slowly. He took a few small steps toward Alex, but not too close, keeping a safe distance. "Did your mom get angry?" Alex asked carefully. The boy didn't answer with words. He just lowered his head and lightly touched his arm where his sleeve covered it. Alex couldn't see anything, but he understood the gesture. The silence between them was heavy, full of things the boy wasn't allowed to say. "You don't have to be scared of me," Alex said gently. "I just want to fix my car. That's all." The boy's lips parted like he wanted to speak, but before he could say a single word, Karen's voice exploded from inside the house. Jason! Get inside right now! The boy flinched hard, like the sound physically hurt him. He didn't even look at Alex again. He just turned and ran back inside. Karen came out a second later, glaring at Alex as if he had done something wrong. Stop talking to my son, she spat. If you keep bothering him, I'll call the police myself. Alex almost laughed at the irony. Karen, he said calmly, your son came outside on his own. Karen ignored his words completely. We're done here, she said and slammed the door again. Alex let out a long breath. Now he had more than just a scratched car. He had a scared kid, a lying parent, and a situation that was spiraling fast. He walked back inside his home, grabbed his phone, and opened the security app again. He saved the video to multiple places, his phone, his laptop, and the cloud. He wasn't taking any chances. He sat on the couch, thinking. One thing was clear now. Karen would never admit the truth. Her son was too scared to speak. And Alex wasn't going to get justice through a simple conversation. This was no longer just about a car scratch. This was about a child afraid of his own mother. This was about a neighbor who thought she was above consequences. And this was about a secret Karen hoped Alex would never share. He looked at the video one more time and whispered to himself. It's time to get real help. And with that thought, the next step became clear. The police. Alex didn't want to involve the police immediately. He wanted to give Karen one last chance to act like a responsible adult. Maybe she would calm down. Maybe she would listen. Maybe she would finally accept the truth. So after pacing around his living room for a few minutes, Alex grabbed his phone again and walked back outside. The neighborhood looked quiet, but he felt something was different. The air felt heavier, like trouble was waiting behind one of the doors. And of course, that door was Karen's. He stood in front of her house again and took a deep breath. This time he wasn't angry, he was determined. He had everything, the photos, the video, the proof. All he wanted was a calm solution. He knocked gently. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. But Alex could hear footsteps inside. Quick, sharp movements. Then whispering. It sounded like Karen was scolding her son. Her voice was low but intense, filled with anger, not toward Alex, but toward the boy. Why were you outside? What did you say to him? You never listen. Alex felt his chest tighten. This wasn't just a strict mom tone. This was fear. Control. Pressure. The kind of voice that makes kids afraid to breathe. He knocked a third time, louder. Finally, the door swung open. Karen stood there, breathing heavily. Her hair was a mess, her eyes wild. She didn't look annoyed this time, she looked cornered. What now? She snapped. Alex kept his voice soft. Karen, I'm not here to fight. I want to show you something important. Karen folded her arms. I don't need to see anything. I told you my son didn't touch your car. Alex pulled out his phone. Please. Just look. Then we can talk like adults. Karen hesitated for half a second. Her eyes flicked toward the screen. Curiosity broke through her anger. Fine, she said, but make it fast. Alex tapped play. The video loaded the early morning scene, the boy walking into the driveway, the metal rod in his hand. The Mustang, the scratch, the boy smiling nervously, looking around. Then the moment he looked up at Karen's window. Karen's eyes widened. Her face instantly lost color. She watched herself on the screen, standing behind the curtain. She saw the truth she was trying so hard to hide. In that moment, her whole body stiffened. She wasn't angry anymore. She was scared. Alex could see it. She quickly snatched the phone from his hand, gripping it tightly like she was trying to crush it. "Delete this," she whispered, her voice shaking. Alex stayed calm. "I won't. This is proof." Karen lifted her head. Her fear quickly transformed into rage, sharp and explosive. "I said delete it," she screamed and tried to swipe the video. Alex reached out and gently grabbed his phone back. "Karen! Stop!" But she wasn't listening. Her whole face twisted with fury. It was like she wasn't even in control of herself anymore. "You tricked him," she shouted. "You probably edited this. My son would never do something like this unless someone told him to." Alex stared at her in disbelief. "Karen! I wasn't even there. The camera recorded everything." Karen stepped closer, pointing a shaking finger at his chest. "You want money from me, don't you? That's what this is about." Alex took a step back, not because he was scared, but because Karen's anger felt unstable, dangerous. "I want the cost of the repair," he said calmly. "That's all." Karen laughed loud and sharp, almost unhinged. "I'm not paying you a single dollar. Not now, not ever. You can't prove anything." Alex held up his phone. "The video is proof." And that's when something unexpected happened. From behind Karen, her son appeared again. Slowly, carefully, quietly, like he was afraid the floor might break under his feet. His eyes were red, his expression full of guilt. He whispered softly, "Mom, stop." Karen spun around. "Go to your room." But the boy didn't move. His voice came out again, even softer. "I did it." Karen froze. Alex felt his heart sink. The boy continued, voice breaking, "Mom, I scratched the car. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it." Karen turned toward Alex, her face pale and trembling. She wasn't angry now, she was terrified. Terrified of the truth. Terrified of consequences. Terrified of losing control. But instead of accepting what her son said, she did the opposite. She grabbed his arm tightly and pulled him behind her. "He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's confused. You're confusing him." The boy winced in pain as she pulled him too hard. Alex couldn't stay silent. "Karen, stop! You're hurting him." Karen looked at Alex with a mix of desperation and fury. "You're ruining everything. Stay away from us. Both of us." Alex didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just said the one sentence that changed everything. "Karen, if you refuse to fix this peacefully, I'll have to call the police." The moment the word police came out, Karen's expression cracked like glass. Her anger disappeared. Her eyes filled with panic. Her grip on her son loosened. "No," she whispered. "You can't. You can't call them." Her voice was no longer loud. No longer confident. It was shaky, almost begging. "You don't understand," she said softly, almost crying. "I can't have the police here. Not again." Alex blinked. Not again? Something deeper was happening. Something he didn't know about. But before he could ask, Karen slammed the door shut. This time, not out of anger, but out of fear. Alex stood there in the quiet street, holding his phone, realizing this situation was bigger than a scratched car. Something was wrong inside that house. Very wrong. And now, the police weren't just an option. They were the only option. Alex walked back to his house after Karen slammed the door, but something inside him felt different. The anger about the Mustang was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Concern. For the boy. The fear in the kid's eyes, the shaking in his voice, the way he whispered the truth even when he knew his mother would explode. That wasn't normal fear. It was the fear of someone who lived under pressure every day. Alex sat on his couch, phone still in his hand, replaying the moment in his mind. Not again, Karen had said. That phrase wouldn't leave his head. Not again meant something happened before. Something serious. Something involving police. Something she was scared of. And maybe that fear was the reason she let her son scratch the car. Maybe she was using him, controlling him, bending into her anger. He stared at the wall for a minute before whispering to himself. This is bigger than a car. He stood up and paced around the living room. He didn't want to call the police just to get money. He wanted the truth out. He wanted the boy safe. But how far should he step into someone else's family problems? He grabbed the phone and went outside again. He needed fresh air. The sun was brighter now. Kids were riding bikes down the street. Neighbors were watering their lawns. Normal life was happening all around him, but across from him, inside Karen's house, nothing felt normal. Then suddenly, Karen's front door slammed again, hard, loud, angry. Her son stumbled out, almost tripping on the steps. He looked shaken, like he had been yelled at for something much bigger than the car. He wiped his eyes quickly, not wanting anyone to see. Alex took a step forward. Jason? Are you okay? Jason didn't speak. He just shook his head slowly. Karen's voice roared from inside the house. If you step off that porch, don't come back. Jason's face went pale. He stood frozen on the last step, not daring to move forward or backward. He looked trapped. Alex's chest tightened. Jason, you're not in trouble with me. I just want to help. Jason swallowed hard. She thinks you'll get her arrested. Alex nodded softly. I'm not trying to get anyone arrested. I just want her to take responsibility. Jason's voice trembled. She won't. She never does. He paused. And if she thinks I told you something, it gets worse. Alex felt a chill run down his back. That explained everything, the fear, the lies, the tension in the house. Did she hurt you? Alex asked quietly. Jason didn't answer with words. He just pulled up his sleeve a little, and Alex saw a dark bruise on his arm. Small, but deep. It was enough. Alex's expression hardened. This wasn't about a car anymore. This was child safety. But before Alex could say anything else, Jason! Karen's voice shook the whole street. She stormed out of the house, her face red, her eyes wild with panic and rage mixed together. Jason backed up instantly, terrified. Karen pointed at Alex. You stay away from him. He's my son. Mine. Alex didn't raise his voice. Karen, calm down. I'm not hurting him. But Karen wasn't listening. She wasn't thinking. She was reacting out of fear. I know what you're trying to do, she shouted. You want to take him away from me. You want to ruin my life. Alex shook his head gently. No, Karen. I want you to acknowledge what happened. Your son told the truth. No, he didn't, she screamed. Her voice cracked. She grabbed Jason by his arm again, pulling him so hard that he winced. Get inside! Now! Jason tried to pull free. Mom, stop! You're hurting me! Alex stepped forward, but Karen pushed him away with one hand. Don't you dare interfere! The neighbors began to peek through their curtains. A few stepped onto their porches quietly. The whole street felt the tension now, heavy, dangerous, ready to explode. Karen pulled Jason toward the house again, using more force than before. Alex couldn't stay silent. Karen, he said firmly, let him go. She froze for half a second, breathing fast, eyes filled with anger and fear and something else, desperation. No one will take my son away, she whispered. Then she dragged Jason inside and slammed the door. Silence fell over the street. Only Alex remained standing there, his hands shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what he just saw. He walked back to his porch, sat down, and dialed. Not Karen. Not a friend. The police. His voice was calm when the operator answered, but inside, he felt the seriousness of the moment. I need to report property damage, Alex said. He paused. And possible child endangerment. The operator asked for details. Alex explained everything, the video, the confrontation, the bruise, the fear, the yelling. We're sending officers, the operator said. Stay nearby. Don't approach them again. Alex hung up, exhaled deeply, and stared across the street. Karen's curtains moved once. Someone was watching him. But this time, Alex wasn't scared. He wasn't uncertain. He knew what he had to do, and the police would handle the rest. Somewhere inside that house, Jason was sitting in fear, but help was on the way. And neither Karen's anger nor her lies could stop what was about to happen next. The waiting felt longer than it really was. Alex sat on his porch, hands pressed together, eyes staring straight at Karen's house. The street was quiet now. No kids playing, no neighbors watering lawns, everyone stayed inside, watching from behind curtains. They all felt the storm coming. Alex checked his phone again. Nothing yet. Every few minutes, he heard something from Karen's house, a door shutting, a loud voice, hurried footsteps. Sometimes he heard Jason crying softly. And every time, Alex felt more certain he had made the right decision. After 15 long minutes, he finally heard the sound. A police car turning the corner. Blue and red lights flashed against the houses, reflecting off windows, but the siren wasn't on. The car rolled slowly down the street, stopping right in front of Alex's driveway. Two officers stepped out, one older with calm eyes, one younger with a more serious look. They walked toward Alex with steady, confident steps. You the one who made the call? The older officer asked. Yes, Alex said, standing up. I'm Alex. All right, the officer said. Tell us everything again from the start. Alex explained everything, how he found the scratch, the toy car, the footprints, the video, Karen's denial, Jason's fear, the bruise on his arm, and the shouting. The younger officer raised an eyebrow. You have the video with you? Alex nodded and played it for them. Both officers watched closely, their expressions tightening as the footage showed Jason scratching the Mustang, the camera smear, and Karen watching from the window. When the video ended, the older officer took a slow breath. All right. This is clear evidence of property damage. The younger officer added, and possibly something more. Alex hesitated. Officer, I'm worried about the boy. The older officer nodded. We'll check on him. They both turned toward Karen's house. Alex felt a knot form in his stomach. He didn't know what Karen would do when the police knocked. He didn't know if Jason would be safe. He didn't know if things were about to get worse before they got better. The officers walked to the door and knocked firmly. Knock! 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 Heavy footsteps echoed from inside. The door opened just a few inches. Karen's face appeared, tense and pretending to be calm. Yes, officers? Can I help you? Ma'am, the older officer said politely, we need to speak with you. Karen forced a smile. About what? You know exactly what this is about, the younger officer said. Her fake smile cracked instantly. We've received a report of property damage involving your son, the older officer explained. We also need to check on his safety. Karen's face turned red. This is ridiculous. My son didn't do anything. That man is lying. The officer raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, we already saw the video. Karen froze. Every muscle in her body stiffened. Her eyes darted toward Alex, full of panic and fury. Then, in a shaky voice, she said, I want a lawyer. You're not under arrest, the officer replied calmly. We just need to talk to you and your son. Karen swallowed hard. He's not talking to you. The younger officer stepped forward slightly. Ma'am, you don't get to decide that. Suddenly, Jason appeared behind her again, his face pale, eyes red. He looked exhausted, scared, and hopeless, like he had given up. The officer bent down a little to see him better. Jason? Could you step outside for a moment? Karen's voice exploded. No! He's staying with me. But Jason, surprisingly, took one step forward. Then another. His mother tried to grab his arm, but the officer gently blocked her. It's okay, Jason, the older officer said softly. Jason looked up at the officers, then at Alex across the street. His lips trembled. I'm sorry, he whispered. Karen gasped. Don't you dare! The younger officer held up his hand. Ma'am, step back. Karen froze, shaken by the firm command. Jason wiped his eyes and continued, voice barely above a whisper. I scratched the car. The older officer nodded. Thank you for telling the truth, Jason. Now, did someone tell you to do it? Jason looked at his mother, not with anger, but with sadness. Then he whispered the words that made everyone hold their breath. She said, Mr. Alex thinks he's better than us, and I should teach him a lesson. Karen's face went white. She whispered, Jason, no, no. The officer turned toward her. Ma'am, is that true? Karen shook her head wildly. He's lying. My son is lying. But the fear in her voice made it clear she wasn't confident in her own words. The younger officer stepped closer. Ma'am, your son is scared. He has a bruise on his arm. We need to understand what's happening in this house. Karen backed away, eyes wide. You can't take him. You can't. No one said anything about taking him, the older officer replied, calm but firm. But we need to talk to him privately. The younger officer gently guided Jason to the porch, away from Karen. Karen tried to follow, but the older officer raised his hand. Ma'am, stay where you are. For the first time since this whole thing began, Karen stopped talking. She just stood there, shaking, breathing fast, eyes darting between the officers and her son. Jason whispered something to the younger officer, and the officer nodded slowly. His face hardened. Then the older officer turned toward Alex. We need your full statement, he said. Alex nodded. He had been waiting for this moment. As the officers continued talking with Jason and documenting the scene, Karen watched helplessly from a distance, her confidence gone, her anger useless, her control broken. Jason wasn't smiling anymore. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't lying. He was finally safe enough to tell the truth. And everything was about to change. The sun was setting slowly, spreading soft orange light across the street. But the air around Karen's house still felt heavy, tense, and uncomfortable, like a storm had passed, but the clouds refused to leave. Alex stood on his porch, watching the officers finish talking to Jason. The boy sat on the steps, shoulders small, head down, swinging his shoes nervously. He wasn't the same kid who had laughed while scratching the Mustang. Now he looked like someone who finally understood the weight of his actions and the weight of his mother's choices. Karen, meanwhile, stood near her front door. Her arms were crossed tightly, her face pale. She didn't yell anymore. She didn't argue. She didn't even look at her son. The silence around her was louder than any shouting. Finally, the older officer walked toward Alex. "Thank you for cooperating," he said. "We have everything we need." Alex nodded. "What happens now?" "Well," the officer said, holding his notebook, "based on the video, the boy admitting it, and the scratch on your car, this is clear property damage. Karen will receive a fine and will be responsible for the repair costs." Alex relaxed a little. It wasn't victory he wanted, he just wanted fairness. "And about the bruise on Jason's arm?" Alex asked quietly. The officer lowered his voice. "We're reporting it. A social worker will visit. The boy will get help." Alex nodded slowly. "Good." The younger officer approached next. He looked tired, but gentle. "We also gave Jason a warning," he said. "He has to do community service. It's better for him. He'll learn something." Alex smiled slightly. "I hope he does." "It'll be arranged with his school," the officer explained. "He'll understand consequences without being punished too hard." The older officer closed his notebook. "We'll file the report tonight." "Thank you, Alex." The officers walked back toward the police car. Before getting in, the younger officer paused and gave Jason a small encouraging nod, like saying, "You did the right thing." Then the car drove away, leaving behind a street that felt strangely silent. For a few moments, nobody moved. Then Jason turned slowly and walked toward Alex. His steps were small, unsure, almost afraid. When he finally reached the edge of Alex's driveway, he stopped and bit his lip. "I'm really sorry," he whispered. Alex looked at him for a moment. The boy's eyes were filled with guilt and sadness, not fear anymore. He wasn't hiding behind excuses or lies. He was just a kid who made a big mistake, pushed by someone who should have protected him. "I know you're sorry," Alex said gently. "And telling the truth today, that took courage." Jason looked down again. "I didn't want to do it. She said you hated us. She made me think you wanted us gone." Alex sighed softly. "Jason, I don't hate anyone. I just want peace. I want neighbors, not enemies." Jason nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "I won't ever do anything like this again." "I believe you," Alex said. Jason gave a small, sad smile and turned toward his house. But before he reached the steps, Karen finally spoke. "Get inside," she muttered. Her voice wasn't loud or angry anymore. It sounded tired. Broken. Lost. Jason looked at her, but instead of rushing inside, he hesitated. Alex didn't say anything. He didn't interfere. Jason walked in slowly, closing the door behind him without a word. Later that night, Alex sat on his couch, a cup of coffee in his hands. The house felt quiet, peaceful. But his mind kept replaying everything: the scratch, the denial, the shouting, the fear in Jason's eyes, the truth coming out. He didn't feel happy. He didn't feel victorious. He only felt something like relief. Justice didn't always feel dramatic. Sometimes it just felt like breathing again after holding your breath too long. A small knock suddenly came from his door. Alex opened it and saw a man in a repair uniform holding a clipboard. "Mustang repair appointment," he said. "Oh, already?" Alex asked, surprised. "Police pushed it forward," the man replied. "Said it was urgent." Alex followed him outside. The repair truck had bright lights, shining directly on the Mustang. The scratch still ran across the side, ugly and deep. But tonight, Alex didn't feel anger looking at it. Only closure. As the repairman started working, Alex sat on the curb. The night was cool, and the streetlights made everything look softer. He could hear faint voices from Karen's house. Not shouting, just quiet talking. Maybe things would change there. Maybe Jason would finally get the support he deserved. After 30 minutes, the repairman walked toward Alex. "All done," he said with a smile. Alex stood and walked to the car. The Mustang looked perfect again, smooth, clean, shining like nothing ever happened. "A fresh start." "Looks new," Alex said. The repairman nodded. "Police said you needed it done fast. They wanted to close the case cleanly." Alex watched the Mustang for a long moment, then thanked the man and returned inside. Before going to bed, Alex stepped outside one more time. The neighborhood felt peaceful again. He looked at Karen's house. The lights were off except for one window, Jason's room. A small glow shined through the curtains. Alex gave a quiet nod. Not to Karen, but to Jason. A kid who made a mistake, but chose the truth in the end. As Alex closed his door, he whispered to himself. Sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's just a lesson learned. And that night, the street finally slept in peace.